Sunset Slayer, chapter by Penstroke, chapter 3. Welcome to Crystal Prep. Twilight? Rarity? Sunset called cautiously into the dark school as she and a second flashlight slipped inside. Lockers stood out from the walls, filling the gaps between classroom doors. Crystal accents and columns lined the hallways, furthering to distinguish school's aura proceeds. Two wall trophy cases were in the foyer, filled to the brim. All from competitions that Canterlot High had also entered, but never managed to win. Why aren't the lights on? Sunset asked as she dug out her phone. With a press of a button, the little light on the device came to life, shining a beam of illumination through the dark. Anyone see a switch? Yeah, I see one. I was across the foyer and moved towards a small bank of 3 light switches. She reached out and flicked one, looking up at the ceiling to see if any of the lights came on. When nothing happened, she tried the second and third switch the same way, with no result. Huh. You think a fancy prep school will be able to fix their wiring? Probably spent too much money buying all this fancy crystal. That, or maybe someone switched off the breakers. I mean, shouldn't there be at least a security light or something? Sunset raised the light from her phone and slipped it across the ceiling. At least the lights don't look broken. Remember that Banshee we had to chase? It bought so many light bulbs when it screamed. I was blinking sharks out a glass of my boots for thighs. Applejack says he tried the light switches in different combinations, seeing if one might finally trigger a light to come on somewhere. Shouldn't we try calling Rarity and Twilight? Fireside asked as he stayed close to Sunset, eyes constantly scanning the foyer. Giving up the light switches, Applejack pulled out her phone and tapped it a few times. She lifted a hand to her ear, undoubtedly listening to the ring through her wireless earpiece. For several seconds she frowned before lowering her hand from her ear and focusing back on her phone. Got Rarity's voicemail. Let me try Twilight. Another few taps, and Applejack was once more listening to the rings. Sunset also listened, and this time she heard something. It was faint, and the school was anything else but totally silent. They wouldn't have heard it. There was a melodic noise in the air, chiming and making tone beeps. Sunset pointed the flashlight of her phone in the direction she believed the sound was coming from. You hear that? Fireside raised her head, even standing on her tiptoes as she turned her ear in the direction Sunset's flashlight was pointing. I do. Isn't that Twilight's ringtone? Applejack, keep calling Twilight's phone. Sunset began to walk toward the noise, heading out of the foyer and into one of the connecting hallways. Her friends followed as Applejack kept calling Twilight's number. Fireside brought out her phone and turned on the flashlight, doubling the group's effective illumination. While moving through the school, Sunset couldn't feel like they were intruders. They were trespassing, but all of them had gotten over the legal qualm. This was different. A vibe in the air, a sensation on her skin, a single tingle on the back of her neck. Sunset couldn't pin it down precisely, but she didn't like it. They knew there were a Class 3 entity in the building. Normally, those things were territorial. Once someone was in its domain, the hunt began, especially when it was the Dracula entity. The distinct lack of activity around them was causing the muscles in Sunset's body to tense. She began shifting her gait to silence the footsteps and move the frozen light around more frequently, checking through the windows of the classrooms and looking behind them. As they progressed, the sound of Twilight's phone grew louder and louder and more defined, and would stop on occasion, when Applejack had to hang up and try calling again, but never failed to resume when the new call began. It was one of the ringtones built into the phone, something with a technological vibe. Though Rainbow often tried to convince Twilight to change the ringtone to something cooler, Sunset always found the melody a perfect match for Twilight's personality. I think it's in this classroom, Sunset said, turning away from the hallway and approaching the door on her right. She checked the window first, but the blind was down. With a visible check impossible, Sunset grasped the door handle, turned it slowly, and cracked the door open just as silver. The melody got nobly louder, confirming that the ringtone was coming from inside. Putting up. We don't know what we'll find in there. Even me? Yes. Sunset knew Fluttershy, fully using her magic now, but this wasn't the time for kid gloves. Sunset's body became shrouded in her magic. She glanced back, Seeing Applejack and Fluttershy had done the same. The glow coming off their 3 bodies tinted the hallway, caused the crystal decorations to glisten. They were ready. Sunset shut off her phone and slipped it into her pocket as her grip on the door handle tightened. She held up a hand, and with her fingers alone began counting down. 3, 2, 1. Sunset threw her shoulder into the door, causing it to swing fast and slam against the wall. She and Applejack rushed in, Fluttershy following in their wake. The entrance was loud, and Sunset had her hand up, ready to send her magic out against the first bat-winged entity she saw. Yet there was no spirit looming over the desk like some demon lord. There was only Twilight, collapsed against the teacher's desk, phone on the floor. Fluttershy, shut the door, guard it. Point your flashlight over here. Applejack, help me get her off the floor. Check for bite marks. Sunset picked up Twilight's phone and set it on the teacher's desk before moving to her friend. Twilight did not have the same magic healing as the rest of them, but it looked like she managed to escape danger with just a few scrapes.
Is he okay?
Fluttershy asked, trying to crane her neck to get a better look at Twilight without abandoning her post at the door. She's breathing, Applejack answered, and she and Sunset managed to lift Twilight off the floor. It took some work, but they managed to get her seated in the chair behind the teacher's desk. Don't look she's one bit either. No marks on the usual places. She used the back of her hand to tap Twilight in the cheek. Come on, girl. Wake up! Twilight stirred, groaning as her eyes slowly opened. She held up her hand to block the light from Fluttershy's phone. Then, as if she sounded an attack, Twilight flinched and tried to keep lead to her feet. She flailing her arms. Breathing became shallow and erratic and rapid. She almost seemed intent on running, but only managed to keep her balance for a few seconds before she collapsed onto a chair. Easy, Twilight, you're safe, Sunset said, firmly gripping Twilight's shoulder. She was keeping her friend held down and calm while offering a reassuring smile. We got your emergency call and came as fast as we could. Are you okay? What, are you hurt? Twilight brought a hand to her forehead and held it there for a few seconds as she looked to the floor. I'm fine. Just a bit headed in the light. Just a little bit lightheaded. What happened? Twilight looked up at Sunset and straightened her lopsided glasses. Students at the school were reporting strange injuries. Cuts in their arms and legs he couldn't explain. Dean Cadence didn't know any of the details, so to start an investigation, I asked Rarity and Spike to follow me to the nurse's office. There, we got more detailed information on the injuries. Several of the students had evenly spaced pairs of puncture wounds on varying parts of their bodies. There were no really bad ones. Only one student had to get stitches, but her file says he couldn't even remember how he got hurt. Rarity and I believed we had found Dracula. We were going to retreat and bring everyone here tomorrow. But then we ran into Dracula on the way out. He chased us, and that's when I called. What about the light? Applejack asked. Where's Rarity? It's back! We tried to hide in the classroom. I think it was this one. Twilight says he glanced around the rest of the room. She tried to stand up again, but only managed to lift herself out of the seat enough to point to a window at the far end of the room. We tried to seal ourselves in here, so we could wait for backup, but Dracula came in through a window before we could close it. He knocked me onto a desk. Last thing I remember was Rarity shouting and Spike barking. They must have lured Dracula away from you. Sunset looked around the classroom, noticing that a few desks were out of place. That means we still need to find Rarity and Spike. Twilight, do you have any idea where they could have gone? Twilight adjusted the glasses again, before taking them out to examine them. The frame was bent, but she could only sigh and do her best to put them back on, even though it immediately slashed at an odd angle. Maybe. I used to have a private room, a lab, where I could do my research. There's only one way in, and it has only one small window. Spike might have led Rarity there. It's on this floor. Sunset brushed a bit of Twilight's hair, confirming his suspicion. You're missing your earpiece, but I guess that's a good thing. If your phone had been paired with it, we wouldn't have heard it ringing. Yay, lucky me, Twilight grumbled. So what now, Sunset? Our first priority should be getting Twilight someplace safe. Sunset offered a hand to Twilight, pulling her out of the chair so she and Applejack could help her walk. Aw, Sunlight, scream! No, 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 no! Let's head into our old lab. If Rarity and Spike are there, then we'll just head outside and wait for Pinky and Rainbow. If not, then Applejack can stay here with Twilight, while Fluttershy and I search the school.
Would it be better if I stayed with Twilight?
Fluttershy asked. We'll want to barricade the lab, and Applejack's the only one strong enough to move something heavy enough to block the door by herself. That, and if something happens, she'll be able to escape with Twilight, even if she has to carry her. I'm not a big fan of not going with you two, but I suppose we can't drag Twilight with us in the sleep she's laying. Applejack posted to Flare's side, directing her to open the classroom door, while she and Sunset started moving Twilight in that direction. But y'all better promise me you'll be safe. Now, get you be careful. If you need me, I'll come running. Sunset nodded as she and Fluttershy went back to the door to Twilight's old lab. It was already being reclaimed by Crystal Pep, being turned into a storage closet for some old sports equipment that had been marked for donation. Still, some of the basic equipment remained, including a chair, as Twilight was sitting in to recover, two heavy desks, a lab table, a bookshelf, and some computer hardware. There was more than enough stuff for Applejack to blockade the door, that thankfully opened inward. We will, and we'll call if we run into anything. You do the same if Dracula tries to get in, Sunset said before she and Fluttershy turned and began walking through the rest of the school. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of the school being closed and blocked, but they kept their eyes focused on the hallway. Both of them were using their phones as flashlights again, and Sunset had to monitor her battery meter fairly closely. He has a portable charger for the longer hunts, but Twilight was usually the one that informed her if they needed chargers or not. Still, the phone had started with a full charge, and only lost a few percentiles of energy. It'll be alright, but finding a regular flashlight would help. They had some at the library, like the charges, but in their haste to get to Crystal Pep, they forgot to grab anything beyond the absolute basics. Sunset was starting to feel like they were relying too much on Twilight to lay out their gear for each mission. Still, before they even lost sight of the lab door, Sunset reached up and hit the button on her earpiece. It and her ear were back to normal, human position after she, Fluttershy, and Applejack powered down in the old lab. Call Applejack, she said to her phone. After hearing a confirmation in her ear, the phone began to ring. It rang twice before someone picked up. "We already got in trouble. That's a new record," Applejack said, her voice coming over the earpiece. "Just making sure our phones are working," Sunset said, and she Fluttershy continued to walk. The hallway they were in particular, to the ones that connected to the classrooms, was completely lined with lockers. Twilight's old lab's kind of tucked away. I didn't check how strong of a signal we got in there. Well, I don't have all my bars, but you're coming in through loud and clear my end. Sunset Fluttershy rounded a corner, going back to the hallway where they found Twilight. Call us back once Twilight's recovered a little more. She might be able to tell us other places Spike and Rarity might be hiding, or at the very least help us more symptomatic in our search. Will do. Anything else? Sunset shook her head. This is entirely unaware that Applejack had no hope of seeing it. No, that's it. Over and out. Over and out. Those last words from Applejack, the call ended, and Sunset refocused her attention on the search. She and Fluttershy went back inside the classroom where they had found Twilight. It took some time searching for clues to where Spike and Rarity might have gone. The classroom bore signs of the struggle, but nothing that told them where Rarity and Spike had gone. With no leads, they returned to the foyer. They hadn't even begun to search properly before Twilight's ringtone led them to her location. So this is where they begin to start searching for possibly symptomatic. Being so close to the entrance made Sunset tap on her phone, stopping the flashlight mode for a few seconds as she typed out a text.
Who are you talking to?
Fluttershy asked, still holding up her phone as a flashlight. Rainbow Dash. I'm seeing how much longer it'll be before she and Pinky get here. Sunset pressed send on a brief message, then kept her phone in her hand as she looked at the different hallways that branched off from the foyer. They're close enough. We may just wait here for them. Otherwise, I say we start with that hallway. Assuming my sense direction is right, if we go that way and turn right, we should be back in the hallway with Twilight's lab. Sunset's phone chimed, indicating a text message had been received, as he brought it up to read. 30 minutes. Had to take the bus. This is why we need 3 bikes. Sunset read aloud before chuckling a little. I have to admit, this is exactly the situation Rainbow Dash was talking about once he was trying to get Celestia to approve the purchase of another motocross bike. But, if they're 30 minutes out, we should start looking around without them. Sunset tapped on her phone, moving his light back on, dimming the screen. She and Fluttershy then began walking down the hallway, they gestured towards earlier. Maybe we should try calling Rarity again. She might pick up this time.
Maybe. But we don't want to be running down your phone battery either, in case you need it earlier.
Or as I said, as the pair reached the end of the hall and made a turn, Sunset could see the alcove where the door to Twilight's old lab was located. That confirmed her suspicion about the school's layout. It wasn't that different from Canterlot's High. It had its own nuances, but still very practical, rectangular design to the hallways.
Oh, what if we called Spike?
Fluttershy asked. I don't think Spike has a phone, Fluttershy.
No, but I have a dog whistle.
Fluttershy reached into the pocket of her pants, fizzing around the side before pulling out a tiny metal cylinder with a smile.
We might hear him barking if I blow on it, or he might realize we're here.
Not a bad idea, Sunset said with a nod. But why do you have a dog whistle?
Oh, I always have one in case I come across a dog that's been taught some bad habits or won't stop barking. It lets me get their attention so I can help calm them down. Stress is bad even for cute little animals. I normally would have had some bag of animal treats in my backpack, or purse too, but I didn't have time to prepare them before we had to leave.
Seriously, Fluttershy, if you don't become a veterinarian after high school, I will be surprised. Fluttershy clutched the whistle in both hands, like it was a special wish that was trying to escape.
Do you really think so? I've always wanted to work with animals. At the very least, I'd like to try to run my own shelter. But I also sometimes wondered about becoming a vet, or a zoologist, or a biologist that goes to study animals in their natural habitat.
All those things sound perfect for you, Fluttershy. Sunset said with a smile before gesturing to the whistle. Still, let's refocus on finding our friends. Fussing a little, getting caught up in the moment, Fluttershy held the dog whistle daintily in one hand and brought it to her lips. She blew, and as expected, the whistle was utterly silent to human senses. Sunset listened carefully nonetheless, trying to pick up on any distant sound of barking or howling. Fluttershy ran out of air and had to take a breath before blowing on the whistle again. This time, something called back. They heard barking, distant but undeniable. Sunset and Fluttershy turned their heads, scanning the hallway around them as their ears trying to pinpoint where the barking was coming from. Fluttershy was the first to slow it in. She tilted her head up and pointed towards the ceiling.
It's coming from above us.
It must be on the second floor. Sunset began to jog, mostly for Fluttershy to follow. Come on! I saw the stairs head back this way.
I think the barking was coming from here.
The hinges were all but silent as Sunset cracked the door open, the only sound of their arrival being the click of the latch. The room beyond was not one of Sunset could place, for it certainly wasn't a fixture of the public school system. It was a room for students to pursue as they developed their own interests in preparation for college, a more communication variation of Twilight's lab space. There were multiple workstations, varied in size and capacity, some suitable for only one student, while others could hold a small group. And each one was uniquely outfitted with materials and equipment suitable for a particular project. One of the stations near the door was full of stone sculpting tools and a block of marble the size of a watermelon. The one next to it had multiple string instruments, all from the same family as the violin, with stacks of sheet music, bows, and bowstrings. Sunset even saw a dressmaker's mannequin, currently holding out to incorporate an ensemble of haute couture. It was no surprise that Rarity was drawn to this room. Spike's barking had ceased. It did not resume when Fluttershy blew on the dog whistle again. But the two of them agreed they were in the right place. The barking had been coming from this side of the school, in this particularly unique classroom capped off the east end of the second floor. Sunset, almost out of instinct, pointed up, drawing out her magic and holding it in her hand, ready to cast out her magical aura. Magic of the human world, especially the magic of friendship, did not have defined control of equestrian magic, at least not without the aid of Twilight's technological devices. But Sunset and her friends found each a natural way to use their magical influence. For Sunset, it was a form of telekinesis. It would be considered a crude levitation spell by equestrian standards, but useful nonetheless. She could grab things at a distance and pin them down, a skill she had put to good use with dealing with the strange bastard demon. Fluttershy had talents as well when pointing up. She gained superhuman senses, being able to see, hear, and smell them like the best of animals. But ever since her bite and the profusion of her pawing form, she rarely called upon her magic, except for those moments when she needed to feed. Right now, Fluttershy was holding back. Sunset was okay with it for a little while, but if they couldn't find Rarity, Spike, or the Dracula entity soon, then she pressed the issue. For a moment, however, she let Fireside have her comfort. Keep that light high, Sunset said as she pocketed her phone, keeping both her hands available for her magic. And say something if you notice anything out of the ordinary,
Okay.
Fireside said, stretching her arm above her head to hold its phone and its light aloft. The pair stepped into her room, starting to move past the self-study stations. Neighboring the dressmaker project was a workstation filled with numerous device electronics and wires. Next to that, someone had chemistry steps and a pair of chalkboards littered with complex compounds. The variations went on and on. Most projects with very different fields of study. Still, they saw no sign of Spike, and all the projects had been cleaned up and properly turned off for the weekend. Only a few had any lights on, and none of the equipment made any noise. No spinning fans, no hum of electricity, and only the pair's breathing and footsteps disturbed the quiet of the room. The science projects, which had every right to leave some lingering odors, smelled only of disinfectant chemicals. Even the floor was properly cleaned enough to eat off of. Just how much do they charge for students to go here? Sunset asked, baffled by how the school could afford to maintain itself at such extraordinary levels.
Hey, Sunset, what do you think happened here?
Sunset turned her head, following the beam of Fireside's flashlight to a project station tucked to the far corner of the room. Sunset crossed the room and stepped into the project space, approaching the one lingering wooden desk and running her fingers along the surface. There were scorch marks and notable grooves and gases, the one piece of furniture in the room showing some true wear and tear. Maybe this student's project failed and they had to leave whatever this classroom was for. Or maybe this is where Twilight worked before getting her private lab? A row made the girls turn their heels. Sunset's magic flared, her body becoming shrouded in orange aura, while Fireside picked the light of her phone in direction of the noise. Passed over a few other projects on the other side of the room. A project with numerous painting easels, a station with numerous aquariums filled with tropical fish, and then the one that looked almost like a miniature doctor's office. It was in that project station the pair saw a dog carrier sitting on the examination table.
Spike?
Fireside called. Something moved within the carrier. Sunset and Fireside broke into a run at the same time, quickly crossing the room and reaching the carrier. Sunset got there first, putting her hand on the carrier's door and pulling it open. Fireside arriving second, put her hands in the carrier, trying to find and extract Spike from inside. But Sunset watched. Fireside would caught a very confused look on her face, and to move her hands oddly inside the carrier. What's wrong? Is he hurt? Sunset asked, trying to tilt her head to look inside the carrier, though Fireside's pink hair was blocking her view.
I think I see him, but I don't feel anything. My hands just keep passing through him.
Fireside gasped as he brought her hands to her mouth.
Do you think Dracula turns into a ghost?
Dracula can't do that. We carefully documented what he can do, and he can't do that, Sunset said. She nudged Fireside on the shoulder, encouraging her best friend to step to the side so she could get a better look. Fireside obliged. Sunset knelt down to the open carrier door. Fireside's description had been accurate. Looking into the carrier, she felt like something Spike couldn't see inside, or at least a dog of some kind, and once he ran inside to pull the canine out, she couldn't grasp anything but air. Sunset did feel something. There's magic on the other side of this carrier. She passed her hands in and out of the carrier, each time getting her bare gains of sensation on her fingers. There's an energy barrier right on the side of this door. It feels like sticking my hand through a bubble. I almost call it a illusion spell, but the only one I know that can pull that off is Rarity. Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to figure that out. There was a sharp clip and snap against the floor. Fireside and Sunset turned to face it. Fireside's lens catching on the tips of two bright high-heeled boots striding towards them. Sunset felt an odd, ill-at-ease sensation rising in her limp body as her jaw hung open in utter shock. At the same time, her brain was struggling to comprehend what she was seeing. Fireside was tensing up like a statue, both her hands squeezing her phone and making it tremble. It was Rarity, but not in any way the others had seen her before. The sensible outfit she had left school in was replaced by something that could barely pass as a bikini. The material was all red, but was accented with gold bracelets on her arms was connected to the long swaths of cape-like black fabric that were tied together with a swimsuit on the back of Rarity's neck. The outfit was oddly complicated by thin-laced black high-heeled boots. She strode with purpose, crossing her feet in a sway with her hips, as the walk Sunset and the others had only seen when Rarity was showing off an outfit on a fastened runway. Woo! Evil is sexy! And Rarity's face came with delight. And Sunset's blood ran cold in her veins. Rarity had ponied up, but it was wrong. Her equine ears were longer, and shaped more like a predator's. Her eyes turned blood red, finally to her searing smile. Sunset could see a pair of long, piercing fangs.
Rarity, if this was a joke, this isn't funny.
Fireside said, voice shaking even more than her hands.
What? Don't you like my new look?
Fireside asked. She batted her hair as she always did, but her facial expression was not one Sunset had ever seen on her friend. It made her feel unsafe standing in the same room. Some part of her mind was screaming at her to call on her magic, to pin Rarity down, but she couldn't bring herself to do it.
Did Dracula bite you?
Sunset asked. She took a step away from Rarity, backing into and stumbling against the veterinarian table where the empty dog carrier was. Fluttershy, Rarity, you had to turn off your magic. You'll feel better when you do.
I'm afraid I can't do that, darling.
Rarity waved her hands a little and lifted off the ground as she weighed nothing at all. The cape-like bits of fabric that connected to her bracelets to her back flowed and flitted like wings, and her smile grew more sinister as her lips rolled back and revealed more and more of her fangs.
Master wouldn't like that.
Sunset had a split second to react. Thankfully, her instincts acted before her mind could catch up. She pulled the bandages off her hand and earlier and lifted her arms, extended her magic to a barrier shape as Rarity's blue aura grew in intensity. The normally vibrant purple color was dark, almost like a poison that shrouded her body. Also tiny bubbles of sharp, neon blue magic turning and flowing in Rarity's magic, like her aura was boiling. She raised a few of her fingers, like trying to tip a balance out of alignment. Daggers manifested in the air. That was Rarity's magical specialty, to conjure and manipulate magical constructs. And, with a smile flick of her wrists, the volley of knives was thrown at Sunset's magic. Sunset felt the sting of impact on her physical hands as the knives hit her magic, like being peppered by small, sharp stones. But Sunset kept her barrier up through Rarity's full assault. Even after just one barrage, Sunset felt like she experienced a significant portion of her eternal magic. Rarity, however, was still smiling and floating, like she was on a cloud in the sky without a care in the world. Oh, by the way, this here first, I don't mind if there's no mana potions.
I applaud you for your reflexes,
Silent Rarity said, even clapping her hands together as he took the same posture while floating in the air.
But why don't we stop this messy resistance, and you two could just come meet Master? You're such a little prick, and then the world makes so much more sense.
Rarity moved some of her hair out of the way, showing Fluttershy and Sunset two notable holes on her neck. They oozed blood and glowed a red aura all on their own.
So you've been bitten.
Where's Dracula? Sunset snapped, so as he maintained her misshapen barrier. Tell me where he is. I'll put him down, and that's to release you and Fluttershy from his curse.
It's not my place to disclose the Master's location without his permission, but I will take you to him. You'll just have to let me knock you out first, or put your head in these lovely bags. I even made one each for you.
Oh, shoot. He may be a vampire, but he's still Rarity, and... Oh my god, those bags are gorgeous! Rarity gestured towards another part of the room. From one of the fast-paced transit stations, two fabric bags came into view. One more like fancy straw-string backpacks, each one colored and themed for Fireside or Sunset. They were beautiful, but their design was marred in Sunset's eyes by their malevolent purpose. Oh, good golly, Rarity! Even while evil, you can still be fabulous!
Aren't they darling?
Rarity asked. She grabbed one meant for Sunset out of the air.
I only use the finest of materials, so they're light, airy, and gentle on the skin. But of course it has to be sturdy too, so I actually gave them 2 layers. There's a soft silken interior with a more durable cotton exterior. All natural fibers, of course. You wouldn't believe the amount of polyester dust lying around some of these parts of this room.
I'm not saying that polyester doesn't have its place, but I didn't feel it was appropriate for my friend's kidnapping handbags. So would you like me to put yours on for you? Not going to happen, Rarity. How rude! I suppose now you're going to tell me you don't want outfits I made either? Rarity let the fabric straight, dropped to the ground. She went to the other side of the room and grabbed some of the outfits off a clothing rack. I mean, how could you say no to these? They're absolutely perfect for vampire maidens in fashion. Such that you look absolutely fabulous in these leather pants with these slider cuts, this red tight top, and all black leather jacket. Oh, and Fluttershy, I have this lovely green strapless dress for you. Now, if you two wish to have something more like mine, I can put something together. Does he think you look fabulous on this little number? Emphasis unlimited. Sunset's mind swung back from terror and anger to disbelief at the sight of the outfit. The pants and jacket were okay, but the tank top was so ripped, someone could easily see her bra through it. Her mind, however, couldn't linger in that thought for all. Sunset, you don't wear a bra. We all know you don't wear a bra. We see that you don't wear a bra. We can identify that you don't wear a gown! You'll be out for a few minutes. She heard a thump beside her, and turned to see Fluttershy collapse, her face bright red in embarrassment. Did you just seriously faint on me, Fluttershy? Sunset shouted. Poor dear never could bring herself to show any of her midriff, Rarity said, shaking her head like a knowing mother. The few times we've all gone swimming together, she always wore her one-piece suit. The color is wonderful, but the design is so modest, and bold is unflattering. But with her out of the picture, does that mean I have to deal with you, Sunset? Rarity flicked her rusty hand, and her volley of magical manifesting knives formed in the air. So we have another go, or you're ready to admit defeat? Sunset began to lower her barrier, a gesture that drew Rarity in closer. Sunset placed one hand on the examination table beside her, thumb resting on the empty dog carrier. She stayed like that for a moment, then saw a cold glare in Rarity's direction. The only thing I'm ready to admit is that right now, you look like a tramp. Sunset swung her arm as victory straight at the dog carrier, hurling the hunk of plastic and metal at Rarity. The carrier smacked Rarity's head as he crashed to the ground. Magical constructs disappeared before they could hit the floor, creating an opening. Sunset seized the opportunity. Pointing her right hand at Rarity, sitting at her matching to pin her friend against the ground, while the other hand worked to bring out her locking device. Trump! Trump! Is it my fault that being a vampire does such wonderful things for your figure and complexion? Rarity began to struggle against Sunset's magic, managing to lift her body a little through sheer strength. The all-blood dye is a wonderful thing, and I think that's why vampires have always been far more liberal with their ensembles. If I am going to be designing fantasies for the creatures of the night, I have to be up on the trends, and skin is in. Furthermore, what would we have done if you missed me and hit one of my lovely outfits? I might have been forced to start all over. That really isn't important right now, Sunset said, frowning deeply as he opened her locket and pointed at Rarity. Normally, the lockets were not designed to suck up their magic, but Twilight explained that hardwiring and limiting to the device posed a number of risks on their own. So she included an override. By holding 2 buttons, the lockets could be forced to drain the magic from one of them, exactly what Sunset was doing. It would not hurt Rarity. In fact, at most, it would stun her for a little while. It still also wouldn't likely cure the curse. They had tried the same thing on Fluttershy more than once. Vampirism always came back with her reserves of magic recovered. But assailing Rarity now would buy her time. Sunset did her best to hold the locket out, while continuing Rarity's growing number of protests. Sunset, this is unacceptable! I demand you release me this instant! Rarity got one hand free from Sunset's magic and tried to conjure knives once more. Sunset had to take a few steps closer to exert her magic again and regain control. A few beads of sweat were starting to turn down the sides of her face, and still, Rarity's magic was slowly draining away. As the process continued, Rarity's protests became more and more feral. She began to growl and hiss, her pupils getting smaller. She tried binding on Sunset's magical aura, knowing full well the damage to the magic passed on to the human using it. Sunset could feel 2 sharp pricks on her right hand, and a resulting trickle of warm blood down her index finger. Still she held Rarity down, and the magic continued to drain. A spear of poisonous purple energy spooling around the center of the locket's collection energy. Near the end, Rarity's resistance grew weak. She began to fall asleep, exhausted from the energy being drained away. But she began smiling and chuckling to herself. Looked straight into Sunset for the final moments of the draining process. What you fail to realize is that this is Master's domain. You cannot hope to escape now that you've entered. With that, Rarity's eyes went shut as her body went limp. Sunset closed the locket and dropped to one knee as her own magical aura collapsed. Pointy ears returned to their normal form, and pointy tail faded away as she panted to catch her breath. She felt like puking. Nausea was rising up, and it was a struggle to swallow back down. Rarity was now bitten, and worse, she was sewing some notably different systems. She had to get Rarity back to the old lab and have Twilight examine her. They needed to try and diagnose why she was acting different than Fluttershy before she could make any further moves in the school against Dracula. But first, she'll have to get Rarity and Fluttershy to wake up.